Hey guys, my name is Dice Rollin'. Today we are going to be doing something a little different. Since it is spooky season and a resurrection of Are You Afraid of the Dark was released just last year, I thought it would be fun and mildly traumatizing to take a look back on some of the most nightmare-inducing episodes of the original series. And given the stories that were told in that show, that's saying a lot. Are You Afraid of the Dark was a Canadian anthology similar to Goosebumps and The Nightmare Room, created by Ned Candell and DJ McHale. The pilot aired on Halloween Day 1990, and the series lasted 7 seasons with 91 episodes. The first 2 episodes we shall be delving into tell the stories of what happens when 2 trick-or-treaters are not cautious about their wishes, and how working the night shift at a hospital can be rather creepy. However, when your fellow employees start acting strangely, it can be downright terrifying. So, without further ado, these are my and Anthropomantic Fiend's reviews of The Tale of the Twisted Claw and The Tale of the Night Shift. The episode opens with a cliffhanger. That is an incorrect response. Nobody likes cliffhangers. It's like getting into some BDSM shit and you're half chub and your partner just walks away. That was oddly specific, but we're not gonna analyze it. The real story begins with some mildly annoying stereotypical Halloween shenanigans. The type of stuff they portray edgy kids doing while everyone else is out trick-or-treating, like spraying squeezy cheese on windshields? The penalty for doing something like that now, in 2020, would have been way more severe. That's all I'm saying. Our 2 main characters are Kevin and Dougie, and they're looking to cause as much mischief as possible. And how are they gonna do that? By sneaking over to a supposed witch's house and spraying shaving cream on her windows. Was this a Canadian thing? 'Cause never once have I seen someone looking suspicious with a can of shaving cream. As you might have suspected, their plan does not go smoothly. Well, at least she's got a sense of humor about it. That, or she's just about to dig a couple of kid-sized holes in her garden. Oh, what's that? You actually choking there, son? I wish you would, because you were a hard lesson in why I should have worn a condom. The next night, it's time for Dougie and Kevin to do some actual trick-or-treating. But it seems that Kevin just doesn't have the same level of excitement for this activity. Hey, you're a kid, so if that means that you gotta deal with hellacious blisters on your feet just to get enough shrunken down Snickers to last you the whole year, then so be it. Kevin then comes up with a fantastic idea. And by fantastic, I mean fucking stupid. He convinces Dougie to go to Miss Clove's house, the old lady whom they partially blinded before. Oh god, she's going to get the meat cleaver. Apparently, Miss Clove's gift is this dehydrated, mangled, and, as of yet, unidentified claw. She tells the boys that it'll grant them each 3 wishes, but... You know, at this point, I don't think the Snickers are worth it. Dougie ends up making his first unintentional wish, which is that they could ditch trick-or-treating and just go home. This leads them to being the center of attention for some purge rejects. Kevin and Dougie get away without a scratch, even though Kevin was 100% down to throw hands over his pound of high-fructose corn syrup, and didn't even get to keep it. I'd say that's a bit of a stretch, actually. Even though Kevin doesn't seem to think this claw actually grants shit, he still makes his first wish. He wants to beat the fastest kid on their track team just once. At some point during this energy-exerting activity, Dougie notices a nearby tree growling and shit. Oh, okay. Are we gonna see this tree come alive and eat this kid? It was a dog. It was literally a dog behind the tree. I guess you could say its bark really was worse than its bite. The kid doesn't even get mauled or anything. He just kinda gets spooked and falls over. He does break a leg though. I won't I already made one bad pun. With this latest incident, Dougie and Kevin are beginning to realize that their wishes have dangerous and often unrelated consequences. Dougie has a moral breakdown, but Kevin is not having it. In the middle of their argument over what to do with the cursed claw, Kevin fucks up. Again.
Jesus Christ.
Canada just doesn't hold back with their dishing out of childhood trauma, do they? Kevin suggests that Dougie wish for his parents to be okay, even though it's Kevin's fault in the first place. Dougie disagrees, reminding his friend that for every wish they make, something bad happens. So instead, he wishes his grandfather was there to help them. There's just one problem with that. This shit's about to go from 0 to George A. Romero real quick. Oh shit. Dougie's grandpa said, if I'm coming back from the dead, I'm coming back in style. After a bit of tussling, Dougie makes one final wish, that the incident with the broken vase never happened. Meanwhile, Kevin's being a little bitch. Turns out, this was the correct wish to make. Dougie's parents are alive and well, the phantom car is gone. Kevin never won the track race, and all the shit that came from their wishes never happened. The end. I detect plagiarism. I'm joking, but in case you were unfamiliar, that was essentially a retelling of the Monkey's Paw story by W.W. Jacobs. It's just a touch toned down, obviously, and there's nothing wrong with that. I actually think that it's kind of cool that the concept of the original story was presented to kids through this filter. This episode was also used as a pilot to see if Are You Afraid of the Dark could actually work as a full-fledged series. Obviously, it worked rather well. It's a fun little episode that got the ball rolling for even more stories to scare the kiddies with.
Hello everyone, I'm Anthropomantic Fiends, and I do horror-related things on the internet. I would like to thank Dice Rollin for having me here. I had a lot of fun watching this episode and getting into it. So, without further ado, submitted for the approval of Dice Rollin, here's my review of The Tale of the Night Shift. So I really like the story. It takes this hospital setting, which is creepy in and of itself, and they introduce a horrific element, but not in the way I was expecting, even though I should have expected this, because it really makes sense. I liked that they were able to introduce vampires into the story through the hospital setting, because like they say, it's basically this all-you-can-eat buffet for the vampires. There's all of these weak people that they can prey on. I don't know why I wasn't expecting vampires, but I'm happy that I got them. They really sort of blatantly drive home that these kids have no time for anything while they're working this night shift, because they've got all of this schoolwork to do during the day and they have to work the night shift at night. One of the characters even asks Amanda, when do you sleep? And she's like, I don't know, I'll have to check my schedule. In the midst of all of that, she's being pestered by the character of Colin, who is introduced through him pretending to have some horrible disease, but actually just complaining about having his tonsils removed. He's just like, oh, it was just a goof. And she's like, you're a goof. And he's more than a goof. He's like desperately trying to date her, and she's like, no, sorry, I'm busy. And if someone was as persistently bothering me, like, hey, date me, date me, date me, the way he does, I would probably be busy too. But eventually we do sort of see this camaraderie grow between the two characters because of their situation, but it takes this nightmare scenario that they're thrown into to make Colin likable, which is, I don't know how I feel about that. What they're trying to do is sort of show that if you're constantly busy with all of your work and what's around you, you're gonna miss out on life and the good things in it. But they paint Colin as so annoying that the moral doesn't really come off that way. What it comes off as is, if you pester someone long enough and happen to end up in a near undeath situation with them, they might date you, which isn't really a great moral, but it was still good storytelling. I particularly liked the way the vampires acted in this. I know all of the people around the hospital are kind of under the vampire spell. I don't think they're actually vampires though, but when they're in that trance, they have this sort of dead-eyed stare to them that's very suitably creepy for a kid's show, but their sort of dramatic overacting is really entertaining for completely different reasons. Now, I especially like the head nurse and her really dramatic way of speaking. I really like the character of Felix, because we see him at the beginning of the episode as this normal kid, then he gets turned, and he sort of becomes like Renfield from Dracula. You can see how this bloodlust has driven him a little bit crazy, and he's really relishing being a vampire, but you also see this sympathetic side of him where he hates everything about it and he wants to fight it. It's this really great portrayal of a three-dimensional sympathetic vampire character that you don't see a lot in kid shows. The fangs and the contacts that he wears are very subtle, so I didn't even notice them at first, but once I picked up on the fact that he had fangs and these red eyes, I was very excited. I like how they don't overdo the vampire look on him. It's just these little fangs and these contacts, and if you're paying attention, they drive home the point, but they don't overdo it. On the other hand, the makeup for the head vampire is over the top and grotesque. It's this very decrepit old vampire look that is really cool. It doesn't immediately scream vampire to me. They don't really draw attention to fangs or anything like that. It just looks like this pale, demonic old man. But in the context of the episode, it is a really cool look for the character. What I thought was weird is that he disguises himself as this new girl who's working with Amanda. It's not really that well explained. I guess centuries-old vampires can turn themselves into tweens. I don't know. It's very weird. I just went with it, and I guess it just kind of works in the logic of this episode, but it is weird. Overall, I was very pleasantly surprised by this episode. It was very dark and had a lot more layers to it than one would usually expect from a kid's show. Of course, Are You Afraid of the Dark is known for being a bit darker than usual. Granted, there are some weird plot things like the vampire transformation, and I don't think the way they did the moral really works just because Colin is so annoying. But all in all, I really enjoyed this, and I was pleasantly surprised that I got to see my favorite creatures in this. So thank you for giving me this episode to review, Dice, because you know me very well.
So, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like to let us know. Don't forget to check out Anthropomantic Fiend. You can support my channel through my Patreon, where you would also get early access to videos like this. And don't forget to share this video to help the channels grow, and subscribe for more videos, more Are You Afraid of the Dark, like this. See you later.